no sleep because the party don't stop. So put your hands on me and turn me on, turn me up.
We are winning. People around the world are gradually becoming less hostile to China as they abandon Western mainstream media and see what the country is really like for themselves through social media, or by visiting China, or even just by talking to Chinese people. There's been at least 7 different signs that this change is happening. 1. Today, the UK Daily Telegraph printed a report in which a senior writer went into raptures about how pleasantly surprised he was to spend time in China and find clean, well-governed cities. Now, this news outlet is normally one of the crudest and least accurate in its portrayal of China. Number 2, the equally China-hostile Economist magazine recently printed an article titled "How China Became Cool," attributing its new positive image to Western internet voices and video games. So again, the digital channels. Number 3, more people feel favourable towards China than the US for the first time in recent years, said a recent survey by research firm Morning Consult, who did the research between January and April this year. Number 4, a survey from Australia showed that more Australians think of China as primarily a trading partner rather than a security threat. This is astonishing for 2 reasons. First, China has never had any sort of plan to attack Australia, so the fact that so many Australians believed it did shows the power of the Australian media to brainwash an entire country. Second, the survey came from Australia's Lowy Institute, which is an organisation usually hostile to China. The institute is part funded by the country's Ministry of Defence and its intelligence service, and by Western firms like Boeing. Their survey also showed that Australians think China will be the strongest country in the world in 10 years. Not the United States, but China. Number 5, another pro-Western group, the Alliance of Democracies Foundation, did their own survey last month. And they also found that global perceptions of China are now more positive than global perceptions of the US. 6. Look at this very large survey from Ipsos, a European survey firm, published just a few weeks ago. China's reputation was positive around the world until about 2018, when a huge fake news campaign was launched to say that China was mistreating the Uyghurs and the Hong Kongers, and then people in Taiwan, and then people in the Philippines. But by 2024, the mainstream media's reputation had hit rock bottom, and the cash pipeline to China demonization operations was cut. And then China's reputation soon rose. But is there any heavyweight statistical analysis of all this? Yes, there is. It's an academic paper by Xiaojun Li and Yunyun Ang looked at the link between Americans' information sources and their levels of hostility towards China. The analysis reveals that traditional media sources such as television, radio and print newspapers are associated with heightened hostility towards China. In contrast, consistent engagement with online and social media is linked to lower levels of hostility, suggesting that the broader range of narratives available digitally may foster more nuanced and less adversarial views. The researchers said the trends were detectable even across different age groups. So, whether young or old, if you're a consumer of the old mainstream media, you dislike China. If you used the new digital media, you were much less likely to. Even Sean Haynes, a journalist who tends to have a rather hostile and bitter tone when he writes about China, wrote an essay recently saying that China is clearly winning the media war. But we mustn't be complacent. Western media is $1 trillion a year industry, armed with channels that can demonize China to literally hundreds of millions of people every day, year in and year out. They are much bigger and stronger than you and I, with our internet content and our little memes. But as I always say, the grasshoppers are powerful, but there are more of us ants. Peace.